currently recording. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Now I'm going to play the intro music.
All right.
And then,
That's a good plan. That's a good plan.
And then we'll go straight into it as if we know what we're doing.
Which we don't.
Okay.
50 episodes in, we still don't know what we're doing.
All right, here we go. Okay, that was a test run. Why does it always do that? It like flips it off. I want you to stay on. Okay.
I don't know.
And
welcome to the No Budget Filmmaking Podcast, a podcast about the art of making films, no matter how small the budget. And now, here are your hosts, Alex Stark and Trevor L. Nelson.
Went the wrong way. What's up, guys? Alex, you can talk to.
oh, hey everyone! Thanks for joining us. This is episode 50 of the No Budget Filmmaking Podcast. I'm Alex Stark.
And I'm Trevor L. Nelson, and we're going to be talking about our next season of the No Budget Filmmaking Podcast, which you might notice is a little different already. We got video.
We got video. That's phase one.
Yeah, I can't tell if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's probably bad. It's much harder to edit video than audio, that's for sure.
Oh, God. And they'll notice that we just sit here and stare at the wall when we try to think of things and, like, how confused we usually are.
I know.
Which we can hide very easily when it's audio only. But now that there's video, we're going to have to be a lot more honest in how bad we are at this.
I know. And we're also going to have to work harder to hide how much we actually drink.
Oh, God. Yeah. Whew. Yeah. That's speaking of, what are you drinking on your end?
I'm drinking in my Hive lighting koozie.
Beautiful.
A Lagunitas IPA.
Fantastic. I am in my Fisher's Resort at Mille Lacs, Minnesota, where my family's cabin is. I'm drinking a Pizza Port Surfari Indian Pale Ale.
Wow.
Yeah,
delightful.
It's a tall boy.
We should just change this podcast to be like about craft beers.
See, the good thing of that, yeah, I mean, that's basically what it is. The thing about video now is that we have so many more sponsorship opportunities. We could have people sponsor our beers, our koozies, our hats. If only people listen to this podcast who cared enough. I know,
exactly. It's all happening for reals.
So I guess the basically we're going to talk about the upcoming season of No Budget Filmmaking podcast. Kind of update everyone on what we've been doing. I guess the biggest thing is that we no longer have our studio.
That's right.
We used to do this out of our studio in Los Angeles. Long story short, the woman who owned that studio died. Her daughter-in-law took over and kept raising the rent, and it was ridiculous.
Yeah, so we decided to jump ship.
Yeah, because as we were selling our equipment, we realized we didn't need that much room like we used to because all of our equipment's newer, smaller, faster, stronger, better. All things we are not. And so we decided we didn't need that much space, especially with the price they were charging us.
I know. Yes, and I moved from
you did.
the West Coast to the East Side, as they say.
Yeah, he's still in LA, guys. He hasn't moved to Boston or anything. There's no film industry there. Sorry, Boston.
Which made it difficult. I mean, it wasn't that bad. The commute, it's a commute no matter what. Like LA, you got to drive, which, that's how it works.
Yeah.
But
yep.
What did happen is I found a storage unit like 12 minutes from me that is like 1/10 of what they were trying to charge us at the studio. Yeah. And it could just fit all our stuff. And I was like, why are we, it's time.
Yeah. And Alex had a garage, so he was able to convert his garage. I have a little corner of my living room that I made into my office. And I made the corner of my living room into my office because I had a kid.
Wow, Trevor.
Yeah.
You're a dad.
Yeah, I'm a dad. A child had a child.
Do you feel more responsible?
Absolutely not. I have no idea what I'm doing. I still drink a lot. Only thing I don't get is sleep. So that's about it.
Optional.
So now I got a kid. And in other kid news, Alex.
Yes. Oh, I'm having a kid.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, in October.
Look at you. Oh yeah, I also had a boy, so yes.
Yeah, so they're gonna be boyfriends. I mean, friends that are boys.
They're gonna be little boyfriends.
Yeah.
I gotta learn that I gotta look to my right to look at you to make it look like I'm looking at you in the podcast, like we're really engaged in this. But so I've had a baby. Alex is gonna have a baby. The studio's over. Studio 2.0 will come at some point. Yeah, I'm trying to move. The wife wants to get out of downtown, especially with the COVID, because it's getting crazy down here.
Yeah.
But speaking of, what's filmmaking been like during the vid, as they say? Who's they? I don't know. I need a beer.
You know, I personally haven't done a whole lot during the COVID. Maybe some post stuff.
Yeah.
We did, some studio liquidation stuff together for another company.
I mean, they knew we did Larry. So anyone who listened know that we did Larry. Larry got rid of his studio, downgraded his show to one show instead of two. Mm-hmm. And so they moved out of their studio, and we were tasked with liquidating all the equipment and helping kind of disassemble the studio, I guess you could say.
That is correct.
So we did that. So that was about it. I've been trying. It's crazy. I just wrote an article about this, and we'll tell you where it's going to be at in a little bit because it's on our outline and it's coming up. But I don't want to jump too early here.
Don't give away the secret.
Gotta ease them into it. About what it's like to be in a pandemic with a kid. So, everyone's like, "Oh my God, you're stuck at home. You get all the time you want to write, to work on your projects. Maybe you have something that's in post. You know what really sucks on that? When you have a kid, because kids take a lot of time. You'll find this out soon, Alex. Soon.
I will.
Luckily, I'm in the stage where he likes to play independently, and sometimes I'm like, "Hey, you want to play?" And he's just like, get away. He doesn't talk. He's just, And I just put him in his pack and play, and he's just like, ha, 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 ha. And I'm just like, all right. Post. Edit. Right.
I don't know.
And then he
if
falls
I'll
over
ever
and cries, and I have to go get.
Know about that, Trevor. I don't know. Because I'm going to have a traditional household where the wife lives in a shack out back. And
and all there is a hole for pies for her to slide pies out when she's not raising the baby.
Exactly. That's the idea.
Thank God neither of our wives listen to this podcast, because why would they? They have to deal with our shit on the regular.
I know. They basically listen to our podcast 24/7. It's just us talking to them.
Yeah. Us with each other on speakerphone talking to them.
Just talking at them. No interest in their side of the convo, just ours.
I mean, again, traditional household. Seen, not heard.
Mm-hmm.
Kids and women.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's tough. Filmmaking what's funny is there have been some movies that have been made, and what they do is they quarantine for 14 days, small cast, small crew. And they still get made. One was made. What's that?
Can we just talk about how the whole idea of quarantining and testing, it's so confusing to me as to how it works, because it's impossible to really quarantine, right?
Yeah.
Maybe if you just stocked up, right? And then you never went to the grocery store, never went outside.
Yeah, it's so hard because unless now, I've never used Postmates or Instacart, so maybe it's not that expensive to use that stuff. Does that count
as quarantining though? Because it's outside junk coming in.
Yeah. Well, I think now they're saying that you don't need to wipe down groceries or food and all that.
I never did that.
I know that when I ordered food, they just leave it out the front, knock on the door, and then they walk away. So I figure that's what they do with the groceries. They just leave it out in front of your door, walk away, and then
sneeze right into it before walking away.
Yeah, they have a little sneeze cup. They sneeze into it, put it on top, and then they say, "Here's your COVID."
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's like, just think of we were shooting The Daughter, and it was a smaller crew.
Right. We'd
have 2 cabins. Everyone would go up there. Everyone would be tested before they went. Everyone was. I mean, even that's hard. You get tested before you go. How do you know you don't get it on the way up? But
exactly.
Yeah.
I just had this issue, Trevor, with a trip that me and my wife took, where it was my wife and her 2 sisters' families, and then her mom and dad, and it's 4 groups coming from different areas, trying to sort of figure out the best way to be like totally safe, and it's just, it can't happen.
Yeah. How'd that go?
I mean, it ended up being fine. There's no telling if any of us are sick right now.
Yeah, and I had the even worse situation where I had to fly on a plane for 24 hours, like not on the plane for 24 hours. I took a 24-hour trip.
Right.
And you're on a plane, and then I'm around my family.
Right.
And then I'm back on the plane, and I was like, what was crazy is that I got home on a Friday night, and they say that you can't, those rapid tests, you know, those ones like the deep nasal swab thing.
Yeah.
You have to wait 3 days from when you were exposed. So
right.
I literally left on a Thursday, got back on a Friday night. I kept a mask on inside and long sleeves until Sunday when I could go get a test. Turned out negative. Fine. But it's like especially when you have a kid.
When did you get back?
I got back Friday night. So the rapid test was only valid for when I flew out to Minnesota, not when I flew back. So I could have got it when I flew back and had no symptoms.
Right.
But then I just got the free test today. It's tricky. But I got the free test today, so we'll see. But like, how do you quarantine when you have a wife?
No, that was the problem that I had. It was like, okay, it'd be so easy if you could take the test like right before, like if we all went up to Tahoe to shoot the daughter.
Yeah.
If we could like go up to Tahoe and then take a test, you know, right when we get in, and it was a rapid test that only took like an hour or whatever. And then if you were, you know, good to go, then you could come to set and start shooting. But that's not how it works, you know, like, because that trip up, you could have been, you know, compromised on that trip, and then the rapid test wouldn't have caught that unless you stayed there for 3 days before. You know, it's like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So the question is like, to shoot in this environment, do you get hotels, have everyone stay there for 3 days in their own room, test them? If they're good, they can go continue to set and go back and forth. But if not, they got to go home. I mean, doing a Tahoe trip would be insane right now. But like to shoot in like a place where if the person tests positive, they can just go home, like in LA,
right?
Might be a little easier.
Yeah. That's true. But then you have like less control over their like house situation, right? Like
exactly.
Because what if they live with other people, or they, you know, that aren't quarantining?
Which most actors that are up and coming are, or like me. Like I live in an apartment complex, and you know, there's people who get on the elevator who don't wear masks, and I'm like, oh god, all right, thanks.
Right.
It's tough. It's a risky time. Like you got certified to be have a safe set for COVID, right? Totally.
It involved an 8-part questionnaire where you read like a paragraph and then answered questions about it. It's pretty tight.
Excellent.
But they gave me a certificate at the end of it, so I'm good to go.
Look at that! Wow, so fancy. So yeah, I mean, there is possibilities of filming during this thing, and I think places are ramping up. I just got to notice that Fargo season 4 is starting production again. I know that The Handmaid's Tale started to shoot, and then the day after they started shooting, they got shut down. So I think they may be ramping up again because they're in Canada.
I feel like they it's reached a point where people are like, well, I mean, we did our best, so it's over.
God, I know, you know? Which is so like infuriating.
But movie sets are probably the worst place to be, right? Because it's like everyone's jam-packed into like small locations or like trucks together, vans, and then like the actors have to like make out and like do love scenes and stuff, and it's like, oh my god, this is like COVID nightmare.
Alex, I believe some of the things on your questionnaire to have a safe set were no fight scenes and no making out. So what are you talking about?
Yeah, it was optional. I think it's all optional, right?
If you really want to give into the story, you make out.
Yeah, how can you make a successful movie, Trevor, without making out and fight scenes?
That's
like
true.
A fight scene while making
I don't know
out.
if I know one movie that hasn't had a make out scene and a fight scene that has been successful.
I know. Think about Indiana Jones. Like, that's all that movie was. Making out and fight
making
scenes.
Out and fighting.
James Bond. Making out and fight scenes.
And fight scenes. Yeah. I mean, and those are the most successful franchises of all time. Avatar, never saw it, Twilight. But I assume it's just making out and fight scenes.
50 Shades of Grey. Different kind of fighting, but still, it's fighting.
It's approved fighting. I know a lot of people are moving their productions to like New Zealand and places that don't have big outbreaks, but that's really not an option for people that listen to a podcast called No Budget Filmmaking. Just pack it all up, head out to Australia or.
Well, they're also talking about doing, like tricky business in post to solve some things. Have you heard about this?
Yeah,
I've heard it mostly,
CGI extras.
Yeah, I've heard it mostly in that context. But like, why couldn't you like? In the 90s, they had the technology to make like split screen stuff with like this,
it's a good idea.
The same actor, if you're doing like a Pins movie or whatever, or if it's like Ursula and Phoebe on Friends.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So why couldn't they do that?
The technology's even better now.
Right. You just have motion capture.
Yeah. I haven't seen that Mark Ruffalo HBO series where he plays his twin brother.
I haven't seen it
But
either.
like something like that. Like that's even easier now.
And then I wrote a blog post about the rear screen projection in indie film aspects, so you could easily just shoot people shoot over shoulders and then split screen the wides.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not going to be great. It's not going to be ideal, not going to be fun. Listen, this is like probably going to be a problem not for like over a year from now, right? Like
yeah.
So I don't even know why people are really talking about it that much, because it's just like, okay, guys, let's just chill out, figure it out for now, and then eventually things will go back to normal.
I mean, I would say it's one of those things where necessity breeds innovation. So people are going to have some really smart ideas. You were talking about this idea you had for a pandemic type movie with two people that never set foot in the same room. Mm-hmm. Granted, I think a lot of people are saying that is it's oversaturated. I'm sure agents have seen pandemic after pandemic after pandemic script and just been like, okay, enough with the pandemic.
They're like, oh god, another pandemic script? That's great.
Yeah.
Let me toss it in the garbage for you.
Awesome. Thanks. I'll throw that away for you. But also you could look at it like, I mean, look at what happened with the iPhone. The iPhone came out with a really good camera and people found a way to shoot with it and tell a good story. So I think there will be ways that good movies are made. They'll be different than the movies we're used to, but I would hope that people are creative enough that they can shoot something, like you said, split screen, or, some other way to not have just have we shoot basically 2 to 3 crew members on our shoots and the talent. So if you could narrow that down even more, like a sound guy and a DP camera director, and then you have one person on set, that's 3 people. That's not that hard to make sure everyone's safe and all that. So
that's true.
It's going to be weird. I think the things that are coming out, are going to be a little different, but hopefully they're innovative and unique. I mean, then you have Tenet coming out, which is the complete opposite.
Right. It does make me wonder, at what point we're going to see the real effects of this, because there is a backlog of movies that studios are still just kind of waiting to release and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So at what point do we hit the bottom of the barrel and start seeing the puppet shows in people's backyards,
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about the pandemic also affecting theaters. There's 2 big things that happened to theaters. 1, the pandemic, and AMC probably is not going to survive it. Mm-mm. And 2, the government has changed the Paramount rule. So now studios can own movie theaters again.
Totally.
So
that's going to be,
I don't know,
interesting.
And
plus, the other thing that came out of it was the direct release to VOD for the Trolls movie that was super successful and led to Universal being or was it Universal being we're just going to do this forever. And then the theaters were like, what? I mean, no, you can't do that forever. And they were like, yeah, we can. We can totally do that forever.
And they're like, we're not going to show it. And like, yeah, you kind of need us.
Yeah.
I forget what movie. I forget. There was backlash at that, but then somebody just signed a deal. I think we were talking about it with our group of filmmakers that it's a 17-day window now. It used to be, what was it, 60 days?
It was like 60 days, yeah.
Now it's 17 for some studios and theaters. It's like, theaters have a tough go, man.
I know. It's going to be pretty rough out there for a theater owner.
It won't be when Amazon buys AMC and it's the Amazon movie chain.
I know. But how does that work, right? Like I get how that kind of works back in the old studio days where movie theater, it was just like one screen and they played like only their movies. But like what if there's a Netflix movie or a Universal movie that wants to play at an Amazon theater?
They won't. I mean, I guess that's the nature of the beast, is that like that's what the problem is that's why they created the law. Is like, so Netflix has their theater, but I could see Netflix buying a chain of theaters, Edwards or something. Right. And then just saying like, if we have, so many movies coming out and they're only going to play at these, and they could charge whatever they want if you want to see it. It's like, it's hard to say if this is good or bad. I kind of lean towards the competition is good, so it's bad because there's like,
but they are going to be,
you're only going to see Amazon
stuff.
It's
just not within their same building, right? Like, but there's still going to be competition. True.
But I guess it goes back to then, if Amazon has a movie that everyone wants to see and they know everyone wants to see it, they could charge $20 because you could only see it at their theaters. On the flip side, I thought like, oh, this is great because Amazon it doesn't have to cut the box office with the theater. So maybe ticket prices will go low, but let's be honest, ticket prices are never going to go lower. They're always going to go higher.
Well, but see, that's the nature of competition and the possibilities, because what if Amazon's like got this crazy idea where they're like, you know what, like we make enough money because we're Amazon, that we can let people in the movies for free, but we still charge a buttload for like concessions, and it kind of like evens out, right? They don't have to make profit per se, and like maybe Prime members get in for free or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like they could probably figure something out. You
know what? You're right. Amazon in their history has always been like, we make so much money, we don't need to make more.
No, but I'm saying that way they could like, I mean, obviously they're not going to do that, but maybe it's like for Prime members, it's like $5 a ticket. And then that way Netflix is like, crap, I can't like compete with that, because so like there is a competition in price, and Netflix, it's like, okay,
but then you can't, but that's the thing, then you can't compete with it. You can't compete with it. But I mean, to be honest, like when Amazon bought Whole Foods, I saw Whole Foods prices drop dramatically because Amazon was like, we don't need to make money on groceries. We make enough money as is.
But see, that's the problem. You do get a benefit for being a Prime member.
You do. It's not,
but
like I mean, it's not a lot. But like that becomes the problem though. Is like Amazon could do that because they have other revenue streams, which I honestly believe that Amazon's going to be the master of it all, because they do have other revenue streams other than movies, and they can afford to take chances on movies and
they have
money.
Literally all the revenue streams.
I know. The problem is that then Netflix will have to come up with something that is like a membership, and then what'll happen, and this is why I feel that it could be bad, because then Netflix is like, well, we need to compete, and we're not making enough money at the theater, so now we're going to have to increase our subscription service. And now maybe Netflix will say, we're going to increase our subscription service, but if you're a member of Netflix, we'll give you a discount of the movie ticket. Yeah. Maybe. But
all these things are interesting. I actually think, the gym mentality or whatever for movie theaters could be interesting. It was like the Movie Pass idea, but instead of having like all the movie theaters involved, it's just like one, right? So like the Netflix, it's like $14.99 for a regular Netflix subscription. It's like $30 for a Netflix subscription with like theaters or whatever, and
it'll
you can see a certain number of movies. But like most people would probably do that. I mean, it'd be a great deal, but like not everyone sees movies that often, right? Like there's going to be the few outliers, Graham, that go see every movie possible.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, is that bad?
But then the question becomes and this will lead me to our next thing. $30, I can watch all the movies at home with my entire family. Does that get me only me in the theater, or does it get my entire family in the theater?
That's a good question.
Which is why, to me, I was talking with somebody we know the other day, and he was kind of he was less optimistic of what Disney was doing with Mulan than I was. I think Mulan is going to kill. Yeah. I think it's going to just make Disney so much money.
Totally.
I don't know if people don't know about it. Mulan was supposed to be in theaters, supposed to be this big thing. Music is out. It's a very, pro-Asian American Chinese movie talking about the history of China, not making it like a cartoon. And it was supposed to be theaters, and now it's going to be $30 through Disney Plus. So if you have a Disney Plus subscription, you still have to pay $30 on top of that. He didn't have a problem with it. He had a problem with it. He thought nobody was going to buy that. I think, on the other hand, a family who's going to spend upwards of $100 to go see the movie in the theaters, and this way, $30, the whole family gets to watch it, and they get to keep it as long as they have Disney Plus, so they can watch it as much as they want. I think this is going to just be amazing. I think it's going to make so much money.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It's tough. I think that, unfortunately, I feel like the movie theater is going to go the way of the record, where there's a small group of people that like appreciate it and understand that it's like a way better viewing experience, but it's going to kind of like be trumped by convenience.
Yeah.
Like a lot of my friends who aren't in the film industry are totally happy and would prefer to see everything at home. Because they have their own food there. They can stop it whenever they want and get up, go to the bathroom. It's like, I don't know. It's like way more convenient for them. And these days, like I have a projector, so it's like, it's and a sound bar or whatever, and it's like it's great. But I still prefer to see things in the theater. But I'm starting to feel like I'm in the minority on that. I know there's a lot of people that like it, but like I think there's a lot of people that would give it up for the convenience.
Oh, I absolutely think so. I think you're going to have places like the New Beverly in LA, which is Quentin Tarantino's theater, where they show movies and it's like a event screening rather than like, a small. I think the theaters are going to be the big movies like Tenet, like Marvel movies and all that. And yeah, I just think that they're going to go bye-bye. It sucks. I love going to the theater. It's actually, I think what may survive are the places like Alamo Drafthouse and ArcLight and
they've already made it more like an event.
Yeah,
it's like
what is it? Movie Studio Grill.
Movie Studio Grill.
And it's so funny because the night before, so my wife had a planned C-section because our kid was huge. And the night before, we went to the Alamo Drafthouse downtown LA for the first time after I had been bugging her to go. And literally, as Alex would say, baked my beans. We ordered our food. The movie was about to start. They brought up our food, and my wife turned to me. She's like, "This is amazing. We should have done this so much more." The night before, we have a kid and could never do it again in the rest of our life. But that's the kind of stuff. The thing is that with the price of tickets and food going out, not everyone can afford that. I mean, with drinks.
It's expensive.
I think I had 5 beers. I was drinking for 3. Plus, she's pregnant, so
plus a plate of chicken wings.
Chicken wings. I think she ate 5 hamburgers, a pizza, and then she stole food off the plate next to us. And then the guy left to go to the bathroom. It gets expensive, and when people could look at like $15 a month for a library that is Netflix, and Netflix is competing so much to keep content good that they're just going to keep adding stuff. It's hard to compete with that.
Super hard to compete. I know.
Which brings us to another update from us, and that's Filmshake. So, Alex, tell them about Filmshake.
That's right. If you haven't heard already, we started a project called Filmshake. It's a website. You can go there, filmshake.com.
Your friends haven't told you about the thing we haven't launched yet.
You can go there right now. The site is live. and you can sign up for a free trial. Basically what it is, to boil it down, it's a website builder that has a lot of features for sales, memberships, and audience creation, right? So you as a filmmaker could create a website, target your audience through like Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, or even just like sharing in forums and like groups and all that kind of stuff. And collect your audience's email addresses right there on your website. And then through your website, you could pre-sell your project. You could sell it after it's already made, create your own sort of like Netflix style website or Hulu style, platform or whatever, like a video on demand platform where people can subscribe for a membership and get access to certain things. But you can also then sell your own like physical products if you wanted to, if you had like merchandise for your thing. Or
do you have any merchandise, Alex?
I mean, I have the shirt.
Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Yeah.
So yeah, I could sell these shirts.
My hat's
on
dirty, so I have the same hat, but my hat's dirty.
Your hat looks different than mine. Trojans.
Mine's in the wash.
Yeah. Mine is.
No, but basically, FilmShake takes the hard part of filmmaking, which everyone forgets about, and that's the business side of filmmaking. You made a movie, you like your movie. How do you sell it? Especially when Amazon, all these VOD places are not going to promote it at all and put it in the back of the bunch. And also what these places don't do is they don't give you customer data. They keep it to themselves.
I know, that's the secret. Way, I feel like that's where that, like, if you boil it down, like all these huge companies, Google, Facebook, Amazon even, it's like, it's all about data aggregation these days. Like that's kind of the key. And it's no different for someone who wants to start like selling movies regularly, right? Like if you wanted to build a business around the idea of selling movies, like aggregating data of people that want to buy movies, like that's kind of the key to it all, right? Like it's about targeting customers, finding them, acquiring them, and converting them. And that's what FilmShake is all about. It's about building your audience as a filmmaker, building the audience around your projects. Like if you have films that are around specific topics, let's say you have like a documentary on a specific topic, or you like specialize in horror films because you really like horror films, like targeting an audience that wants that product and then selling directly to them with your own, branded platform that delivers the content to them. So it's all kind of like a seamless experience. That's what FilmShake is.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise that a company that gives away most of its products for free, like Google, is one of the richest companies in the world. It's because they get your customer data. Every time you sign up for something, they tell you they're going to use your data. And they sell that for ads and all that. And so just imagine you sell 300 copies of your movie and you're making another movie. Well, you already have a 300-person customer base that you can, go after and say, hey, A, I'm going to crowdfund my next movie.
Yeah.
B, I'm making this movie and I want you to be the first in line to buy it. Or C, did I go 1, 2 or A, B? We'll go C. And then C, you have somebody that's like, hey, you know what? I'm making some T-shirts. Boom, I have these people's emails. And I can email them and say, hey, buy a shirt or buy this or buy that. Or, you know what? You have a newsletter you want to put out there just talking about stupid shit like this podcast does. Boom, you have your customer information that is never hidden from you. And also any movie or merchandise you sell on your site that you set up through FilmShake is 100% yours. So that's even better. You don't have to split it. It's all you. Cool. That is what it's like.
The argument, these days people are always trying to be like influencers, right? So you want to have an Instagram account. Like if you're a DP or whatever, it's like, yeah, I have my Instagram account. Like, what's your Instagram? Show me your Instagram or whatever. But like,
damn,
if Facebook, or TikTok or whatever, if Facebook all of a sudden was like, Instagram sucks, we're gonna just roll it up. Like all these Instagram followers, like they're gonna disappear, and it's just gonna be consumed by Facebook. Then your entire like business is gone, right?
Yeah.
Because because it was never yours to begin with. It was Instagram's.
And that's what happened when Vine shut down. All these people that were Vine stars didn't have any idea what they were going to do. They're like, well, that was my income. It's like, well, so, it doesn't matter. It's not yours.
Exactly. And so the idea behind Filmshake is to eliminate that. You can still have your YouTube and your Instagram accounts or whatever, but the idea is to take people off those platforms and onto your own so that you have their actual info. If those platforms shut down, or even if like Filmshake disappeared off the face of the earth, you would still have their info, and and then you could contact them directly yourself and then build up your platform somewhere else. And that's kind of crucial, because these things like TikTok, I mean, who the heck knows how long that's going to be around for, you know?
Well, according to the president, not much longer, unless Microsoft buys it.
Right.
And then that also leads us to our other thing, which is filmmakingcentral.com, which is a kind of a catch-all for all of our educational things. I guess you could call this podcast educational. Yeah. But it's where we're going to post stuff. You can get the podcast there. We're posting articles.
Videos.
We're going to do a lot more stuff on there, which is another way just to kind of expand your filmmaking horizons. So that's cool.
Yeah, and the way it's technically our blog, right? It's not super, I would say, like structured in terms of like educational content. It's basically like our thoughts about the film industry, things that we're trying out. Like, for example, we want to kind of do a case study for Filmshake with a project of our own, and we'll kind of like tackle that on Filmmaking Central and kind of walk you through like our process and what we're doing and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of like our hub for all the things that we're doing. Yeah.
Yep. And then last but not least, just upcoming season, we're going to have another podcast, maybe a couple more, but at least one more.
At least one more.
If anyone's a fan of the TV show The League, this will be very familiar to them. But we've gotten, let's see, if we've had 10 comments, and 3 of the comments were complaining about the end of this podcast. I say that's a majority of the complaints about this podcast is that it's too long, and we go too in depth about film gear, because we're obsessed with film gear.
We are.
So we're going to branch that off into another podcast. Again, if you're a fan of The League, this will sound familiar. It's going to be called the Equip Monks Podcast. Mm-hmm. We'll post it in the first episode. We'll explain the name and what episode to watch of The League to make it make sense. But yes, we're going to do a new podcast. It's all going to be all about film gear. None of our stupid what's new with us, our opinions on the film industry. It's just film gear, film gear,
cool
film
stuff
gear.
that pops up all day, every day.
Yep.
That's what we're going to be talking about.
Once film got into the digital realm, it became computers. There's something released new every day. So there's more than enough to talk about, and we are obsessed with film gear. We always are constantly sending each other stuff of like, we need to buy this, we need to buy that.
Totally.
And then we realize we have no money, and so we say we're going to get that one day.
One of the reasons we took a year-long hiatus on this podcast is because it became difficult to come up with new topics to talk about, right? I mean, we kind of like covered the gamut of like topics within, aspects of making films for low to no budgets. I mean, I'm sure there's still more that we can talk about, obviously. But we never had like a shortage of equipment to talk about. And so it was like, well, why don't we just make that its own podcast? That could go on forever and ever without really having to struggle to come up with things. Which brings me to my next thought. If you, listening and or watching, have topics that you would like us to discuss on this podcast, feel free to hit us up on filmmakingcentral.com. Go to YouTube and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the little belly thing. And then comment on the video with your thoughts about different topics on filmmaking, low budget, no budget, or any budget really. And we can tackle those topics and keep this podcast rolling without too much brain work on our part, because we know that our brain work is not great.
We're all about the least amount of work on our end. Yeah. This is already pushing it, talking for an hour. So let's just get that.
Exactly. So, is that it?
I think that does it. That's a little short and sweet. Nothing too crazy, but I think that's it.
Just wanted to get back in the swing of things, test out this this whole video concept.
Yeah.
We're using vMix, if anyone's wondering.
Yep.
And not gonna lie, it took a little doing to get this set up.
Oh God, yeah. And we're professionals.
I'll use your error, like, no doubt. Like, if I had read a single word of the help documents, I probably would have gotten through it quite a bit quicker.
That's like reading the manual when you get a new piece of equipment. Who does that?
I know. But we're going to keep doing these. We're going to post them up on YouTube. The podcast is available, as you know, everywhere. And I think that's going to do it for this episode. Am I right?
Yeah, I think so. So thanks so much for joining us. Remember, you can get the show notes for this episode by visiting nobudgetfilmmaking.com/episode 50.
And don't forget to hop on over to iTunes and subscribe to our podcast. And while you're there, give us a 5-star review if you feel so inclined.
And if you have any filmmaking questions, ask away in the comments section, and we'll try to answer them.
Also, don't forget to head on over to fearlessfilmmakers.com to join our community of filmmakers and gain immediate access to our vault of past workshops, courses, and tutorials. I think that's
all right, guys. That'll do it.
Later.
Cheers.